Hi everyone, welcome back to another video from us Team FD from Hong Kong. And I'm Enoch, and today I'm going to share with you one of the deck profiles for one of the latest decks in BT09, which is the Green GrandisKuwagamon Green X-Antibody deck. So here's the deck that I've used to win a recent online tournament, the knockout in the elimination tournament from a local game store, and then I took a 4-0, 4-0 on a best 16 player tournament. So this is the deck profile right now. So today I'm going to go through a few things, mainly on the deck profile, some combos that can be used, and also other matchups and potential cards that can be modified to tailor against the meta that you're up against. Okay, so first off, we come up with like four level 2s. So this is basically the Digimon level 2 Digitama. The effect of this is basically when I suspend an opponent's Digimon, I can draw a card. So this is one of the kind of the bread and butter draw engines in the green decks. As you know, if you play green, you will know that it's very hard for green cards to draw. So this is one of the better draw cards in the to be used for the level 2 Digitamas. And then subsequently we also have a BT6, a bird level 2 Digitama. So this one is when I attack a Digimon, it doesn't have to kill it, I just declare the attack, I can draw a card. So there's also very good synergy with the deck, as it revolves around a lot of buffing up attacks and also destroying your opponent's monsters to gain advantages and also to gain a board presence. So basically this is the draw engine that I prefer to use. There are other Digitamas that can also be used, and I'll share a bit of those later. Okay, so now we go to the level 3s. So we play 4 of this new Beetle. So this is the electric, the plug Beetle that is also an X-Antibody card. So this card is basically a very strong, I would say, level 3. What actually the green decks are always looking for, because what it does is if it's played for 3 cost, I'm able to search the deck, or I'm going to reveal to 3 cards and choose an insect type, a machine type, or to pick for hand. And plus, I can also get an X-Antibody option. So this is what we call the X-Antibody option, and this is one of the more critical cards in the deck right now. So this is the key card, and with this I'm able to search for a deck, something that green always needed. So this is the X-Antibody card. I did not play the normal version of it, but basically this is kind of the go-to card when I want to search for anything. It practically searches for half of the deck, and I think actually more. So from anything from level 3, 4, 5, even to 6, plus the option, I'll be able to reach it out for that. The next card is 4 of this Digimon. So this is basically the insect deck. So this card's pretty strong because the evolution effect is when attacking, I'm able to for the next evolution into ancient beetle or beetle monster or insectoid monster, I'm able to -1 evolution cost. So this synergizes really well as the deck revolves around attacking and when attacking effects. And I'm also be able to combine with the correct evolution chain. I can really be having near to 0 cost to when I'm evolving into my level 6s. And also to say that this is not a once per turn effect. So if I were to, let's say, swing twice with the same Digimon, with the same evolution chain, I'm actually able to activate it twice. So this is actually a very strong support card for this deck. And it also doesn't require me to use the effect on the same chain. I can actually evolve it on a separate chain because the effect is very similar to hidden potential. So we're saying that when you evolve onto the next insectoid or ancient insect, ancient beetle, ancient bug card, then I'm able to -1, reduce 1 evolution cost. For the remaining level 3s, I play 4 Digimons and one of this new bird from BT9. So for Digimon, I think it's quite self-explanatory. This is the memory control version. So in a sense, your opponent during both turns are not allowed to use cards or to activate cards that increase their memory. So this is a very strong card to lock against the current meta where people play a lot of memory boosts, given that it's all about the decks that builds a strong chain. So a memory boost is quite prevalent in the meta right now, and having this card can really sometimes lock your opponent down and waste their resources to destroy it. And subsequently, if I'm against blue, I can swing to attack and always have this on the board, and I can avoid all these security effects where they increase their memory. So like Hammer Sparks, Ice Wall, or even the X-Antibody cards that they have activated into security, it can be locked down completely. So I think this is quite staple in a lot of green decks. And this bird is a new card. So basically this prevents cards from special summoning in a sense. So you're not allowed to summon cards other than normal summoning them with paying a cost or using evolution to summon it. So basically this card can limit the effectiveness of like Jesmons from pulling out their the sister mons, or even against the Samudramon decks, blue decks, where they kind of like pull from their evolution source. This can also counter against security monsters. So let's say if they have Omnimon Defeat in the security, they can't play it because this will lock it down. But however, the effectiveness is not as high, given that right now in the current meta in BT9, the Asian meta, we're really talking about people playing one evolution chain to build up from there. So really, it's got some use, but I wouldn't say it would be like a lot of use. That's why I'm only playing one in the deck. So there's a total of 13 level 3s. So the next thing is for the level 4s. I play 4 of this pretty strong Digimon. So basically, this is one of the stronger level 4s I would say in the deck. Firstly, it's an Insectoid, so it synergizes well with the Digimon that I mentioned. And also, the Stingmon, actually it's 1 cost only, so it's a very cheap evolution, and the effect is if I destroy a monster or Digimon with this, I'm able to gain a memory. So combining with the Digimon, the Stingmon as an evolution source, and the Digimon as an evolution source, I'm actually able to get reduce my memory and gain the memory. So it's a very strong card to combine with the combo of the deck. I'll share a little bit later on the potential combos that we can use. And then we also have 2 blockers. So I think this is 1 cost blocker, self-explanatory. Blockers were not as evident back in the BT8 EXO EX2 kind of meta, given that it's easily destroyed. I play 2 blockers simply because it's 1 cost evolution. It's also Insectoid, and also it's got quite some use against specific decks, where I will share, namely the red deck. So if it's against, let's say, the X-Antibody Wargreymon red version, a lot of effects activate after the battle, so after the attack. So what this means is that I'm actually able to block the attack first and prevent it to gain memory before I activate all this attack. So to some degree, it's quite useful, and I mean, for 1 cost evolution, potentially for free, if I have the Digimon to attack previously, then it's actually not a bad option. So here I only play 1 Regimon, simply because I don't play a heavy Digiburst version of the deck. So 1 is just enough for the 1 cost, and potentially if it combines with the GrandisKuwa, and then actually gain a memory. But that is rarely kind of used. And then subsequently I play 2 of this a Mantismon, and basically this Mantismon is a security effect monster, Digimon. So if it's get attacked in security, I can play out for free after the battle, so it still does the battle of 4000 DP attack battle, and when it gets played, it can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So it's very good against decks like blue, where they continuously have multiple attacks by unsuspending themselves and not really using one of an OTK combo. So in a sense, this is where the effectiveness comes in, and it's being 2 cost. It's not that expensive. Even if you draw in your hand, you can always just evolve it, and as mentioned, since it's an Insectoid, it's potentially it could be reduction in the cost. So I played 2 of that, and at last I played 2 hybrids for level 4, totaling up into 11 level 4s. And I mean, hybrids are quite important for this deck, given it's kind of an OTK deck, so having an ability to kind of close off the game and also to finish off the opponent for the final attack is quite important. I didn't play the other insects or the other hybrids, given that The other ones have a search ability, so if we're playing the JP variations, there's actually, I don't want to search for other hybrids, so I want to make sure that my deck, in terms of the sequencing, is intact and everything about that. Okay, so now we go into the level 5s. I play 4 of this level 5 bug, the GrandisKuwa previous versions of the Kuwagamon version. So this, I think it's probably the best level 5 that's the deck can have in terms of the non-X-Antibody version. So given all the other kind of Kuwagamons, they actually have the effects, I would say, is quite limited. This one, it not only enables to have piercing for the evolution chain, it also has an effect is if this card is evolved this turn into another insectoid insect monster, until the end of your opponent's next turn, whenever their Digimons are suspended, they will lose memory. So even if they have a Terriermon on their side or an equivalent of a memory control card, they can't really. You will still gain that. They will still lose the memory because it's not gaining the memory. And subsequently, this card is very important because it's like a small version of Ice Wall. If I play this out, and then during your opponent's turn, against like blue decks, right? They swing to attack and they unsuspend themselves, and they attack again. They have to pay 2 cost, so they have to pay to attack in a sense. So this effect lasts even if this card gets destroyed, gets removed, because it's a continuous effect. So in a sense, it's like a Ice Wall. And combined with a lot of the other cards in the deck, you can actually gain a lot of memory from this, right? Because all of our X-Antibody evolutions will suspend opponent's Digimon, so you'll be able to kind of like steal memory here and there. The next kind of a bread and butter attacker of the deck will be this X-Antibody Kuwagamon, right? So this basically is one of the newer cards produced out, and also one of the key cards for the deck. Basically said, this card, when I evolved into this level 5, it's non-X-Antibody version, I'm able to evolve it for 0 cost only. So when I evolve it, what I can do is I can suspend our opponent's Digimon if I have the non-X-Body version available, or I have the X-Antibody option card equipped to it in the evolution source. And then also this card is if during the attack, having a very similar effect as the GrandisKuwa or GrandisKuwa, it can actually change the attacking target to another suspended Digimon. So this really varies on the variation, and you're actually able to attack an unsuspended Digimon, which is quite strong. And also, given its also second effect is if you want to evolve into an insectoid Digimon, you can reduce the cost by 1. So in a sense, my next evolution to a level 6 can be 1 cost lower. Combined with, as I mentioned, the Stingmon and also the BT09, I'm actually able to reduce 2 costs and add more memory during my attack and evolution, of which then it simply could mean that I'm evolving my level 3s, my level 6s simply for free. So I think this is a very important card and also another attacking point of the deck. So now we go into the level 6s, right? So we play 2 GrandisKuwas and then 4 GrandisKuwa. So you might ask, hey, so why are you just playing 2 GrandisKuwas? Isn't this an OTK deck? Yes, I agree, it's an OTK deck, but I really do think that the GrandisKuwa is actually the real kind of like beta of the deck. Having this on the board, even only having like 1 checks, it kind of like it removes the threat for when it attacks, and it also be able and can also attack twice per turn. So in attack indirectly, 2 checks is not too bad. Having GrandisKuwa at the bottom, of course, is much better because you buff up the attack. You can attack for 2 or 4 securities, up to 4 securities when attacking. However, I would say that because this GrandisKuwa by itself, being 11,000 and also having no other effects other than security adding, is really not that strong. So if I were to up, I can increase the number by 3, but really it kind of cucks up the ratio. And for now, I think this ratio is quite pristine, having the correct amounts of 3, 4s, and 5s, and even 6s. Having too much, not getting the GrandisKuwa hurts too much. So I'd rather play more of the GrandisKuwa and less of the GrandisKuwa. Well, of course, I will always want to see it, but not as frequent as the GrandisKuwa. So this one, as you all know, back in the OTK Green, you will all know its effect. Digiburst 2 cards, 2 evolution sources. For each two evolution sources, you can choose a Digimon to get an additional security check. So I can Digiburst up to 3 checks. So I can make it potentially 3 or 3 checks attacking, and evolve it to the GrandisKuwa to attack twice for 3 checks, which clears up the opponent's security. And also GrandisKuwa is and then now we go into the key card, the GrandisKuwa. What effect is, if it evolves into a GrandKuwa, it's only for 1 cost. So that's it doesn't have to pay for the full 4 cost. And subsequently, when evolving, I can suspend opponent's Digimon. And similar effect to the X-Antibody of the Kuwagamon, I can actually change the target if this evolution takes place in the middle of a battle. So what I can do is I can attack opponent's Digimon, or I can swing for if your opponent's Digimon is unsuspended. Let's say it's unsuspended Terriermon, right? What I can do is I can actually swing, declare the attack on the opponent's security, evolve it, and then because I have this X-Antibody equipped, it activates when attacking effect. I can change the target into the Terriermon, swing it, suspense, when evolving effect, and change the target to Terriermon, attack it, and then unsuspend the end of the battle phase. So in a sense, it is very good against like reboot decks or decks that actually unsuspend or kind of like have a strong board presence and can actually clear up most of the targets. So this is the when attacking effect. And also it's got permanently increase over 4,000 during your turn. So having 16,000, it really kind of clears up most of the opponent's cards. So like a lot of Omnimons, the Wargreymons, the Metal Garurumons, and even a lot of the Alphamons, I'm able to really take away and kill it. The only thing that we can't really get past would be potentially the Alphamon Aurea mode, which is the new SEC. But however, I mean, other than those, and also the kind of the stronger buffed versions of the Omnimons, I can really pretty much clear everything. And then the last effect, which is also one of the stronger effects, is if it's got Grandis in the evolution effect, and also if it has an X-Antibody equipped into the ESS, what it can do is after swinging at the end of the battle phase, so it's at the end of the battle phase, it can unsuspend himself, and then it can swing again, right? And when it unsuspends, you can suspend another monster. So in a sense, I can destroy 2 monsters. I can kill 2 monsters, and then it also for every suspension, I can activate this level 5's effect, right? So I will gain memory when I evolve it, attack, and unsuspend, etc. And then this effect, given that it only unsuspends at the end of the battle, what it means is that if your opponent has cards like cards that require me to be unsuspended in a security check, right? So let's say if it's Flower Cannon, right? If I hit into a Flower Cannon, it can't suspend it because it's already suspended. However, Flower Cannon effect activates, suspends the whole board, and then after that, this unsuspends again, so it can swing again. So in a sense, it's a very strong against mirror matches, given that their security effects will be more or less rendered useless. So this is where the power comes in. Okay, so this is where we play. This is the level 6s we play, and now we go into the options. We play quite a bit of options, but as I mentioned, the bread and butter really comes down to the X-Antibody option. So this is a card that is newly introduced into the BT09 meta and actually buffs up a lot of X-Antibody decks. What this card does is it can equip into Evolution Chain for free, given that you don't have an existing X-Antibody card equipped. And the effect is when I'm attacking, a declare attack, I can evolve into an X-Antibody card. So what it means is I can evolve into my level 6s, like GrandisKuwa, or even my level 5. My 4s can evolve into my level 5s, or my 5s can evolve to my level 5 again, given it's the same, it meets the evolution requirements for to pay the cost. You have to still pay the cost, but it triggers all of the subsequent effects from the X-Antibody GrandisKuwa or the X-Antibody Kuwagamon and everything on that accord. So in a sense, this card is very critical. Having the proper setup, I'll be able to quickly remove threats. So this is quite an important card. And then also subsequently, this card cannot be removed from your evolution sources. So cards like Tommy or blue evolution removal cards don't really work on it. And furthermore, this, if it's security checked, it actually has a +1 memory effect. So it's like a smaller version of Hammer Spark, smaller version of Ice Wall. So it's actually sometimes proves to be useful if it's checked in security. So this is one of the key cards. And for the green options, we play 3 delays. I mean, memory boost, delay, this is like self-explanatory. This is evolution deck, so you having the correct pieces at the correct time is very important. So you need to keep searching for decks for the correct pieces at all times, and also having the extra 2 memory increment when you need it. When needed is quite important. So this is the important card. And then I put in a tech card that's not really played too much in the meta right now. So this is basically one of the better so-called removal options in green. I mean, it's not Gaia Force, it's not kind of like Frost Cannon, and also all these red and blue removals that they have, right? Given that this card has a small requirement, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon and its tamers, suspended tamers, to the bottom of the deck. So in a sense, it does remove something, but it has to, the precondition is the opponent has to be suspended. Why am I playing this card? Mainly because right now the meta is really all about building up one perfect chain, or building up one strong evolution chain, and using that as a main attacking to attack. So you're not really spreading out the board. It's really about building strong chains. And that's why GrandisKu is good, because it can remove opponents, or it can kill opponents' Digimon, right? But on this fact, right, it's basically, if I don't have an evolution chain, if my board is empty, I have no way of removing my opponent's evolution chain. I'll lose a lot of tempo, and not having the ability to use one card to remove like a Gaia Force, or like other colors kind of removal cards really hurts you. So I would say this may not be the best card since it has to be suspended, but it's also one of the only options we have as green, unfortunately. And the evolution, the security effect is not bad as well. So it activates the same ESS effect as well and everything. So I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's okay. So this is a slot that you can choose to tech depending on your meta. And for tamers, we play 1 Davis, 2 Mimi as a 4-cost tamers. So basically, if you know me, I prefer to always have a more consistent basis rather than hand advantage, rather than just having the aggression. So Mimi is a very good card for green, or actually one of the only options for 3-cost memory gain at the start of the turn tamer. Basically, Mimi is, I would consider the card to be a snowbally card, right? So if you're at an advantage, having Mimi is very strong. If you are able to have a level 6 setup on the board, you can just push it out, activate Mimi, set up another evolution chain at your racing zone, and then since you're set, even if your level 6 or level 5 gets removed at the front of the board, you always have a backup that's coming from Mimi. So I think this is a very good card when you're pushing for aggression. However, in sometimes you may be slower than your opponent, you're not getting your combo pieces correctly, you really want to search for cards, right? So Davis comes in very well. Davis is not as aggressive as Mimi. However, I can search all of my Digimons once played on it, so it's a very good setup card. And also, if I were to be hit on the security and activated, I can immediately benefit from the effect. So I would say it's pretty decent, given that it's got the searchability, and it's quite it's a more of a defensive and setup card, so it's more consistent, I would say. And then finally, we have 2 Cool Boys. So this is the new 2-cost tamer, which this effect is very strong. If I play it, I'm able to reveal 3 cards from my deck and search for any one of the X-Antibody cards. So I've got 4, so I've got 12 targets that I can choose from. Plus, I can also get one of the X-Antibody options. So this is the as I mentioned, the bread and butter of the deck, really needing this option to be always available in your hand to have your level 6 threats almost immediately. That's why Cool Boy is very important. And also the effects on the board is if I evolve onto the same cost, so 6 to 6 or 5 to 5, I can suspend it and then gain more memory and also draw a card. So it's really good to get that last memory that I was mentioning. If I want to evolve into GrandisKuwa for free for my level 5, I'm able to have -1, -1, +1, so that's 3, and +1, right? If I evolve it previously onto my level 5 here to gain that extra memory. So in a sense, I can potentially evolve my GrandisKuwa for free, right? So basically, this is the overall deck that we've been playing. I think the cards that can be kind of tweaked, really the ratios, level 3s, I think it's quite stable. Having 13 level 3s, I feel like it's quite important, or else anything lower, you sometimes you're gonna just have games where you're not gonna even get level 3, and this deck will just falter if you don't get that. And I think maybe the options you can consider to kind of tweak it. So now I'll move on to the next part, which we'll be talking about the main combos of the deck. Okay, so for this segment, I'll demonstrate a few kind of main combos that we use primarily for this deck and the potential setup that's needed, right? So here, assuming we've got a 3-cost tamer, a 4-cost tamer that gives you 3 memory at the start of the turn, and your raising zone is this kind of evolution chain. I mean, of course, things can be interchangeable. The idea is you must have this level 5. However, this is the perfect chain that we would say. So what we do here is that we'll first push this chain out, and then assuming your opponent, let's say, has a Digimon there, right? I'll call it maybe the Kaiser, right? Or the Gabumon, right? Okay, depending on the situation, what you would do is basically you would use a 0-cost evolution to evolve into your Kuwagamon, into the X-Antibody version. If you have a Cool Boy, that'll be great because you can also increase the memory and draw in. If you don't, that's fine. It's not critical for this combo. What you do here right now is you evolve and then you suspend one of your Digimons, right? So let's say we suspend the Gabumon X-Antibody version. Once suspended, you gain a memory. As I mentioned, whenever it's suspended, you get a memory. You then use 2 costs to evolve, given it reduces by 1 cost. And you can use the Digiburst effect right now. So you can choose to maybe think, okay, I can just use the Digiburst effect of these 2 since you already activated the effects of drawing cards already, and to increase it by 2 checks. Or if you needed the extra bump, you can also Digiburst again for 3 checks, and then so that will proceed with OTK. Let's assume you only need to Digiburst once, right, and get all the effects. What you would do here right now is Digiburst for twice. If equip the X-Antibody option, swing to attack, and it can attack anything. You can attack the security or the Gabumon, but let's assume attack security. And then using the effect to evolve into the GrandisKuwa. So that's a 1 cost. What will happen here is when attacking, you can activate BT09's effect to minus a cost. So technically it's 0 cost, and you will kill the Gabumon to gain another cost. So you back at 3, right? So here, then you're really able to kind of proceed with your next play and attack again, do piercing of twice, and then attack again for another 2 checks, and also evolve into your hybrid for the final attack if needed. And subsequently, if the opponent has like 5 checks or 6, then you can also Digiburst more. So where we were at was here, right? So we evolve to here. You gain a memory because of that evolution. So now you have 4. You evolve into this for 2. You Digiburst 2 of these cards, and also these 2 for 4 checks. Swing to attack. Evolve for 1. So this time you have to pay the 1 cost. And you can kill the monster. Unsuspend again if you have Cool Boy. Then what it means you get another memory. If they have 2 Digimons, suspending again will also activate another effect of this. So you also be able to gain the memory again to 2. So it's either Cool Boy or another Digimon. You kill both, and then you can use the hybrid 2 final attack. So that's the kind of the bread and butter combo, the ideal combo for this deck. Really building into the level 6s, having the ability to remove the field and also pierce for security checks. So it's a really kind of like a 2-step OTK deck in some sense if you have the GrandisKuwa. If you don't, it's fine, because given that if you evolve with a third cost, with all the reduction I mentioned, it's pretty much just one cost, and you're able to attack twice, remove 2 threats, have a pierce of security for 2 checks at 16,000. I think that's pretty safe already as well. And another combos that I mentioned that could be also considered to be used is that I did say that the deck is not just level 6 as your main hitter, right? If you have, let's say, this card, if you have empty board, your opponent kind of checks you, and then luckily you got this security monster that comes out. Your next turn, your next play is you can equip into this X-Antibody. Attack can also evolve into this level 5. So this can also change the target of a suspended Digimon. So in a sense, you can attack in a suspended level 5. So in a sense, I can attack unsuspended Digimons, right? And so therefore, it kind of clears up the board as well. So this is quite important. Alternatively, if you were to have a clear board, but you have a Tamer, or you have a Mimi Tamer on board, you can always evolve into the hybrid, and also equip the X-Antibody as I mentioned, and also swing to evolve. So in a sense, even though you may be empty board at times, your opponent may be able to clear up your board, your first GrandisKuwa, you're really able to kind of have a comeback play if you have this X-Antibody option that really benefits your combat opportunities. That's why I'm saying the real bread and butter of the deck is really to get this X-Antibody option as soon as possible in your hand, and it kind of activates all of the plays that you have subsequently in the deck. So here's the kind of the main combos that we use. Okay, so here I'm going to talk a few about the meta matchups and how to play against them with this deck. So the first matchup I would say is quite the most difficult matchup will be the Metal Gabumon X version, antibody version. So I would say against this deck, I'll give it a win percentage of around like 40%. So 60% to the blue deck winning, given that it's got a very strong evolution chain, having the ability at the level 4 to prevent this from destruction by removing 2 same cost evolution sources, and also having the ability to swing multiple hits in one turn. The speed and also the defense and sustainability of the deck is very strong. So to play against it, really, there isn't much really, I would say, hard counters, but if you were to say, then I would say this level 5 Kuwagamon, as I just mentioned, having the ability of being an semi-ice wall, it will be quite good, given that your opponent will need to pay cost to attack. So if they're every time for blue, because it's all about swing single hits, but then we're unsuspending, so attacking for once, evolving and unsuspending, etc., we're really talking about every time they attack, they have to pay 1 cost. So they have to pay a small cost to attack, and that kind of prevents it from really damaging your security. And then the next step is after they attack, if they don't beat you, you're able to kind of push your Grandis to kind of kill it. But also, as I mentioned, it's actually quite hard to kill it, because a lot of the effects from this deck revolves around actually killing the monster. So the Stingmon and also the piercing, you have to destroy it. But the blue having the evolution source of prevent damage destruction, so battle destruction, really kind of like stops all the a lot of the combos in the deck. So that's why I would think having one of this option is quite important, given that I can directly just suspend. Once it's suspended, I can bounce this back to the hand, removing the threat completely and kind of preventing it from further expanding on the board. So I would say these are the few cards that you can so-called counter it, right? And then we played a few Terriermons to kind of stop the Hammer Sparks and everything. And a tip to play against blue is that on this full evolution chain, it can actually remove 2 monsters, one on level 4 below, and also one on the Metal Gabumon X antibody version, where you can remove the lowest level monster and remove it back to the hand. So in order to play it safe, you must at least, I would prefer to have 2 your main Grandis in the field and 2 other Digimons. So once, even if it evolves into the level, the X-Antibody to bounce one of the cards, the Metal Gabumon, once it's evolved, can only bounce the level 3 instead of the Grandis, or else you will lose your chain completely. So I think against this deck, you either play quick and try to fetch out your GrandisKuwagamon as soon as possible for the OTK potential, having to swing out for all 5 checks, or you really have to just play a bit defensively and pick your spots to attack. Next off, we have against the Kaiser, the BlackWargreymon meta. I would say this deck fares pretty well against it, given that we really do the effectiveness of Kaiser is really about having a reboot blocker at all times, being very strong, and also preventing of kind of like damage or effect removal, right? But because we are really killing the monsters by battle, their Greymon's X-Antibody effect won't really trigger. And in a sense, because every time we evolve, we can suspend, even if it has reboot, it can be easily destroyed by our GrandisKuwa for 16. So I don't see a lot of issues with this matchup, as long as you play the tempo correctly and don't overextend in unnecessary times to allow them to kind of scoop on the advantage. And then ultimately, the last kind of matchup you see very often BT9 is really against the Wargreymon X-Antibody red version. So this version is actually quite strong, given that the Wargreymon's effect is for every security you lose, your opponent loses. It could be from destroy, it could be from just attacking it. It gains a memory back. So in a sense, providing with the Metal Wargreymon X-Antibody version at level 5, and if you have the Greymon security attack and also the tie, you can potentially swing for 4 securities in 1 turn. And so therefore, it's very important for you to have ability to kind of stop that, and therefore that's why I play the blocker. So I'll be thinking that if it swings for the attack, I can actually block it, and it stops all the attacks. So it doesn't stop the attack, but in a sense it stops the memory recovery. So if he pays 4 costs to evolve and swing, the turn ends. He can't further recover the memory because there was no securities. They don't play any piercings and everything that kind of like goes through blocker. And its destruction effect is after the battle, right? So after the battle, it means that I can always block first, so it can't destroy me after the battle. It can destroy my other monster, that's fine. But then if I have something raised in the baby zone, I can always raise it and kill it. So I think that's the ability and also the effectiveness of this deck, where it really comes to shine is to having the blocker to stop the Wargreymon is very important. So I would say this is the kind of the main meta matchups. And then finally here, we've got a few kind of like cards that potentially you can consider to use, although I haven't used them. And firstly, it's the level 2. This is a pretty strong Digitama, given that it can give a permanent 1000 attack during your turn. So as I was just mentioning, the GrandisKuwa having 17k attack can ultimately really beat anything. We're really talking about even the Alphamons, Oreo mode, or even the Omnimons at 16. Those are not stoppable, right? So in a sense, you can consider playing this, but to me, I prefer having a draw engine, so that's why I play the other version. And then on the level 3s, there's people that play this version. This increases your security by 1, and you can also evolve into the X-Antibody version of it for free. To me, I would say the biggest issue with it is because it's 1 cost for evolution. So if I were to evolve it by 1 cost starting the turn, I pass my turn already at turn 1. So that kind of sucks. I'm not able to set up. But if it's on the opponent's turn, I'm able to evolve, and also evolve to a level 4, maybe the 1 cost ones, to pass my turn back, right? So that's not too bad. But on the alternative side, if you think about it, if I can save that 1 cost, all I can do is 0 cost, 1 cost, and then I can immediately evolve into my level 5s, right? So that's already like setting up for my kind of my combo plays that I was just mentioning. And all it took was 1 cost at the start of my turn. So I would say that having this extra cost is not really that strong, but having 2 checks if you have GrandisKuwa could be good. But if you're playing the GrandKuwa version, you won't digiburst this, right? So in a sense, you won't need that extra oomph of security attack, so I don't play it. Some people play this, the red insect version with this X-Antibody. I don't think it's too good, given that it's got piercing, but my level 5 already has piercing, so I don't really need another piercing effect. And plus this kind of locking effect, it's okay if there's targets you can get past, but given that GrandisKuwa can attack twice already, right? So we've kind of established the fact that we can remove 2 threats. I don't think they're gonna have a 3rd threat for me to kind of remove it, and hence that's why I feel like 2 costs, level 4, there's a lot more options for me to choose. And then subsequently, as I mentioned, there's another version. People play the Rapidmon, Golden Rapidmon. I don't really like it too much. It's good because it has the ability to kind of get past level 6s at level 4, right? Because I can push this out, 3-cost evolve, suspend it minus the 5,000 attack DP, and then swing and die together for, I can remove 11,000 DP body for just a measly of a level 4. But given the cost is 4, and I would a lot of times I'll be kind of like raising a Digitama zone, I don't really think that this is that useful, to be honest. And then ultimately, the two options, people might ask, hey, why am I not playing Hidden Potential, right? Yeah, so Hidden Potential is a very good card in green. However, in reality, right, as I mentioned, this whole evolution chain really kind of already reduces a lot of memory, and you can't stack the reduction. You can stack the reduction, but you don't need to reduce more than 4, right? Because that's the max you're gonna do, right? And the fact is, having addition memory is fine, but if you have reduction of like twice, it doesn't really help that much, and it's rarely that you really have established board for you to really use Hidden Potential for free. And given the fact that you always move these GrandisKuwas out for a measly of like 2 or even 3 cost or even 0, then Hidden Potential really doesn't max out because I don't play any Nichomon, right? So this is not that useful. And then ultimately, the Grand Scissors, the new kind of effect, it's okay, but it's too costly. At 4, I pass my turn after activated, so I can't really swing after I use it, because granted, it has to be unsuspended before I can use it, right? So if I attack with GrandisKuwa, I can already attack twice. Why do I need to, if it's suspended, I can't activate this. So it doesn't really, I don't have that many targets for me to kill, and even if I am able to activate this to swing 3 targets, it's really too much. So it goes back to the fact is, I don't think there's going to be 3 targets established on the board for you to remove. So that's why I don't think this is a good card, and I don't really play it. But I see some decks playing it, really going for the board removal potential there. So I think these are if you were to kind of remove it, you can look into removing the excluding the 8-cost option into one of the other cards I just mentioned. But this is the version I've been playing. I've been getting very good amount of success, and I would say this version is very consistent given the ratios and everything. So I think this wraps up my deck profile for the Green Antibody GrandisKuwa deck. And once again, thanks everyone for watching and tuning into our videos. We will be doing more videos in the future, and also doing a lot of deck profiles and potentially even using these decks that we've shown to do battles. So do stay tuned, and remember to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Comment, like, and subscribe. And once again, thank you for tuning in. And this is Enoch from Team FD. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to see you again. Bye bye.